all the games I used to play in my younger, wilder days. The game of clubs and teas had never crossed my mind. But after some discussion with my closest, dearest friends, I decided that I'd give it.
Welcome into another episode of the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. I am Andrew Putters. I'm with my buddy Joe Nicely. Game 5 was a little disappointing. He got the big A on right there, Atlanta Braves. We're knee deep in the World Series. Game 6 coming up tomorrow night. But let's talk golf, Joe. Tennessee had an off weekend. We're getting re-energized on that. We had the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. Really kind of, I feel like maybe not necessarily picking all the players up top, but I feel like the tournament kind of played out the way we thought it would and the way we discussed last week. Lucas Herbert wins the tournament, shoots, gets 1,500, holds off P. Reed, Danny Lee, who we mentioned last week, we thought would have a really good chance. Of course, the inevitable Scott Stallings backdoor top 5. After barely 6 over after 6 holes on the open round, Joe. What could have been, right? But man, I actually, 2 guys from Knoxville, East Tennessee area in the top 10. David Skins had a not so great round there and ending up 4 over on the last day to finish plus 34. Yeager, a guy from UTC, finished top 20. So overall, good tournament for East Tennessee, where we're hailing from, Joe. Did you get a chance to watch any of it? And if you did, what do you think?
Very little, man. Followed it a little bit there Thursday morning during those wild weather conditions. A ton of wind to kick things off Thursday morning, and it kind of threw the tournament for a loop. Saw a lot of guys playing catch up. Saw a lot of guys dropping low scores over the weekend, kind of when the weather did fare up. So yeah, it's just a really, really weak field, and toss in the wind as we expected. A lot of volatility there, man, and we talked about it last week. We knew that going in. Kind of a light week for me. I only played 5 lineups. I had several. I think 3 of those were 5 out of 6s, so didn't really get anything going. Nick Hardy let me down last week, so kind of disappointed with that. But looking forward to this one, man. Totally night and day. 2 tournaments in back-to-back weeks. The Bermuda Championship is about as a week as filled as we see during the swing season, and this Mayakoba event is one of the stronger fields that we'll see. So kind of back to the regular thing this week, AP. Last week was kind of a glorified KFT event, whereas this week we got some heavy hitters teeing it up.
Absolutely, Joe. And it's very important, guys, that we look at these tournament histories. You look at, and I know last week we only had a couple years to go by, but and look at the styles of golf these golfers are comfortable with. And just here's an instance: you had Russell Knox, Ryan Gay, Graham McDowell, all finished and tied 12th, literally from nowhere. And of course, there's probably guys that finished. There's going to be guys that we could have pinholed for these type of courses that maybe didn't play well, but you really want to. That's why it's really important to diverse your lineups with a numerous amount of what we like to call on this podcast the green light guys and not the red light guys. And so and those 3 were definitely green light guys on this style of golf course and this style of tournament. But yeah, we can move on we can go ahead and move on right into the Mayakoba Golf Classic, is what is formerly now known as the Worldwide Technology Championship at Mayakoba. This is going to be played at the Playa de Carmen, Quintana Roo, Mexico, in El Camaleon Golf Club, par 71, 7,000 yards long, Joe. This tournament founded in 2007. It was the first PGA Tour event in Mexico this century. Over the years, Joe, we've seen many different styles of golfers win this tournament. But I will say this: most of the guys you're going to see up top hit the driver straight. That you've seen win this tournament. I'm not going to say that they're long hitters or they're short hitters or they're iron players, but they all hit the driver very straight. Let's just say that. That's just me looking up from the outside, looking in on a real quick look. Joe, this used to be an opposite side event of the match play. and now it's turned into a regular event in the fall swing. I feel like we're going to see, 20 under, Joe, around that 18, 19, 20 under. Your thoughts on the golf course?
Yeah, more than likely, man. This golf tournament's actually a really cool story, kind of how it's grown over the years, what it's become in the swing season, kind of a staple event now, and almost kind of a destination event for some of these guys. I mean, you see a ton of Ryder Cuppers will be teeing it up this week. You have to imagine it's kind of a semi-vacation for them, but it makes for a great feel for us. So I just kind of really like Mayakoba. Kind of what it's turned into over the last 3-4 years. But yeah, to answer your question, Andrew, about the golf course, some similarities to last week, honestly. Really short track by modern standards, just over 7,000 yards. As you mentioned, we need guys that are going to be in the fairway. We've seen kind of some of these plotters play well here. Matt Kuchar won a few years ago. We won't dive into the specifics of that win. Brendan Todd and Victor Hovland, despite being a young player, is also a very, very straight hitter. So Hovland took it down last year. So that's what you're going to kind of circle this week, AP. Accuracy off the tee, very sharp iron players. I think course experience does help here a little bit. This is kind of an interesting and different type of layout than we see from week to week, kind of during the regular season. So I will be shading course history a little bit this week, but overall, man, strong field, really fun golf course, and looking forward to diving into it.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I do want to bring up before we get into the slate, be careful when you're making your lineups based on previous finishes, because there was a time where the really, really elite golfers literally did not play in this event. Because it was an opposite field of the match play. Just actually, I guess last year was the first year it wasn't. So, and saying that, it's going to be hard. If you see a guy here that's maybe finished top 20 in the last 5 years, and you're like, oh, this guy's a sure thing. He probably didn't play against a field like this. So take that into mind a little bit. But I'm excited about this slate, and we're just going to start right here at the bat, 10K and up. This is definitely the cat's meow of the field. Koepka and Billy Ho, some reasons up there, Terrell Hatton, Tony Fenow, Abe Answer, Vic Hovland, JT. I mean, really, really good group of guys there, 7 golfers. I do think, and you look at straight up talent wise, maybe 3 or 4 of them or maybe a little stronger on paper. But, we haven't seen some of these guys in a few weeks now. This is a short fall swing, 8 weeks. And so, we had the Ryder Cup mixed in there, Joe. And plus, when you get into international travel, you're dealing with different regulations. We're going to see golfers or players take several weeks off, and this is no different here. So, Joe, out of these top 7 right here, is there anybody you're leaning towards?
Well, I think you got to mention we kind of want to touch on all these guys, Andrew, right? Because it's such a much stronger field than we've seen in quite a while. I mean, when you compare this to last week, it's almost comical, the difference. So I think all these guys are certainly viable this week. I think you can tee any of these guys up. JT sticks out just as far as being kind of the elite of the elite in this field. He's the only player above 11,000 this week, but kind of a disappointing year. I think even JT himself would agree with that. Did win the Players, but disappointed in the majors. That was his only victory of last year. We've got a caddy change there, AP. I imagine Bones will be on the bag this week. So that'll be interesting to kind of watch. JT had a T12 in this event last year. Last saw him at the CJ Cup a few weeks ago. Obviously played in the Ryder Cup, but it's been a really light schedule for him this fall. So JT's JT. You can feel comfortable rostering him, but you're going to have to pay for him this week. Victor Hovland's the defending champion in this event. Kind of interesting. He missed the first 2 cuts of his career in this event and then won last year. But we know what type of ball striker he is. We love the kid on this show. Love his prospects going forward, and he's an interesting play again this week. Abraham Answer is probably where I'm going to start a lot of lineups this week, Andrew. Really broke my heart, man, a few weeks ago at the Shriners, but, I kind of went all in there, and looking back in hindsight, He was coming off a very extended break there. So he does have a couple of knock the rust off starts. He did play well in the follow up at the was that the Zozo or the CJ Cup, where he had a really nice bounce back week. CJ Cup. Sorry, it's Monday, man. But played really well. Kind of after that disappointing miscut at the Shriners at the CJ Cup, actually was kind of in contention there. Had a disappointing final round, but I like where his game is as he comes in here. And a little stat I saw on Twitter today from Justin Ray. Over the last 3 years, Abraham Answer is a combined 41 under par in this event. Has went T21, T8, and T12 in his last 3 Mayakoba starts. Obviously, we got the kind of the home country narrative. Answer's a native of Mexico. That's where this tournament is. So a lot of things pointing towards Abe this week, and I will be in. We'll be starting a lot of lineups with him. Tony Fenow, this track really doesn't seem to suit his game. We know that Tony's strength is his ability off the tee. That kind of takes a back seat here, which makes it surprising to see that he's went T16 and T8 over his last 3 Mayakoba starts. There is a miscut in there, but Tony can obviously win on any golf course, even though this one doesn't really suit his game strengths. It's played well here. So it'd be interesting to see what Tony does. Terrell Hatton has been over in Europe, played well over there. Same can be said for Billy Horschel, who it's really, really surprising, Andrew. You mentioned surprising to see him up here at 10-1, man. But there's a couple of reasons why. He's coming off a win over in Europe a few weeks ago at the big BMW PGA Championship. That was a really big win for Billy Horschel. And the course history here is fabulous, man. T5 last year, T8 the year before, and a T21 back in 19. So Billy Ho has played extremely well here. Kind of circling back around to that Justin Ray tweet. The only person better than Abraham Answer in this field is Billy Horschel at 43 under over the last 3 years in this golf tournament. So kind of a little bit of sticker shock with him, but he's an interesting guy on this golf course coming in good form. And then we got Brooks. Man, it's just tough for me to pull the trigger in non-majors. I know all the talent in the world is there. I don't know that this golf course is great for his game as it is. He missed the cut in his Mayakoba debut last year, so I don't know that I'll have much Brooks other than maybe, giving him a look at some leverage in GPPs or something.
Yeah, I agree 1,000% that I would be starting right there at Abe Answer at 10-7. But it feels like you should get more than a $500 point discount on him and JT. Like you said, talent wise, JT, Tony, Brooks, probably JT, Brooks, Tony, 1, 2, 3 as far as talent goes. Yeah, and another thing about Tony,
they'll probably throw Vic in there too. Maybe 4.
Yeah, but thing about Tony is, like, there's golf courses that don't set up, but some reason he plays well on. And it could just be a comfort thing. I don't know. I like Tony on golf courses that he's had success at in the past because he comes, it's like locked in, So I guess if I'm starting here, I'm starting with Tony or Abe, and that's it in these 7. I can't see myself going anywhere else. I don't mind Hatton. I feel like he's probably one of the least consistent guys out of this group overall, as far as winnability or getting up there in the top. Not winnability because Tony's only won 1. But anyway.
Hey, man, that's something we've not really talked about much. Tony hadn't – we hadn't talked about Tony much. It seems like forever ago, man, but, just a little over a couple months ago, he did get that big win at the Northern Trust. So – what's that going to do kind of for his confidence? We hadn't really talked about Tony much just because, it's been the swing season. We had the Ryder Cup. He's not been teeing it up a ton, but, that maybe is something to keep in the back of our mind. Is there a newfound confidence there after that win at the Northern Trust a couple months ago?
Yeah, that's a great point, Joe. It probably could go one of two ways. It could fire him up and he could just explode, or it could get complacent and drop off. So, Great point there with that. Moving on down, the 9K range is a little thin, but there's some good players in here. Scotty Scheffler, Aaron Weiss. Weiss getting a huge pump on this against this field. P. Reed, Shane Lowry, Matt Wolf, Zalatoris, Taylor Gooch. Scotty Scheffler, Zalatoris for me are just jump off the page as far as Weiss talent in this group. Patrick played pretty decent last week. You never know when he's going. There's not a golf course that suits him on paper. There's not a golf course that doesn't suit him. So I feel like he's hit or miss. But Zalatoris, Scheffler to me jump off the page. Don't really love it though. Don't love it, Joe.
Yeah, I agree. Those two guys, I mean, you can even throw Matt Wolf in there as far as talent. They certainly stick out in this 9K range, but I don't know that they're my favorite plays this week, Andrew, on this golf course. It's gross, man, but I find myself kind of wanting to swallow this Aaron Weiss number at 9,600. The guy had a runner up here last year, a T10 here 2 years ago, and he's been playing excellent golf in the swing season, man. I mean, you look at his statistics. Over the last 2-3 months, there's a ton of green there. Meaning he's gaining strokes in almost every facet of the game. His last 3 starts, his strokes gained tee to green numbers plus 5.6, plus 7.2, plus 6.1. He's been doing it with the irons. The putter's been okay. That's always his kind of weak point. We saw Victor Hovland win on this golf course last year. Wise logged a runner up. I don't know if we mentioned it this week yet, Andrew, but these greens are paspalum greens, which these guys very rarely see, and it can sometimes, help these bad putters kind of level the playing field a little bit. So I'm really, really interested in Aaron Weiss. Despite those big names that you mentioned, Scheffler, Reed, Wolf, Zalatoris, despite those guys being up there, man, Aaron Weiss draws my attention, and another guy that we could probably make the arguments overpriced, but is playing really good golf at the moment. That's Taylor Gooch there at 9K, coming in similar form to Wise, and that he's playing extremely good golf, logged some good finishes, has looked really good in every facet, especially the iron play. The irons have really been firing. He's gained over 5 strokes on approach in each of his last 2 starts. Had a 5th at the CJ Cup, a T11 at the Shriners, and a T4 at the Fortinet. So 2 top 5s and 3 swing season starts for Taylor Gooch. His strength's his iron play, and that's going to play well on this golf course.
Yeah, Taylor Gooch. Like you said, though, I'm a little worried on the his ability to go real low. You like him on tougher golf courses. I know you've mentioned that several times. Interested to see how that works out. Moving on down the 8K range, Joe. Starting to get juicy here. Tringale, Fitzpatrick, Garcia, Ricky Fowler, McNeely, Noren, Keegan Bradley, Russell Henley, Miko Pereira, Bizen Hunt. Lots of love in this range. Fowler took a step back. We were really high on him. I still feel like the cream is rising there, Joe. I don't hate golf courses where he has to hit the driver straight. So I still like that play. But there's a lot of talent right here, Joe, and a lot of guys really right there together. So anybody jumps off the page to me is going to be Fitzpatrick and Pereira. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of ways you can go, man. The 8K range always seems to be pretty interesting. Fitzpatrick played okay last week, had a T30 as the favorite and the highest priced player in that field last week. A field that he was kind of a step above as far as talent-wise, but we had our concerns. He was coming off a big win over in Europe, had the travel and kind of the hangover from that. Now he's teeing it up for the second week in a row, traveling from Bermuda to Mexico, making his debut on this golf course. So even though Matt Fitzpatrick is talented and on paper fits this course very well, there's some concerns there. This is a golf course where Ricky can play well, and we've seen him play well. I had a runner up here back in 2018, T16 in 2019. Of course, you can argue he's a different player at that time, but overall he's gained over 21 strokes total in this tournament. So I think you can look at Ricky if you're kind of a believer in the direction he's headed. A guy I really like, Andrew, a guy I know you like. We talk about him a lot on this show. I always want to target him on short golf courses, and that's Maverick Mcneely. You can almost set your watch by him playing well on a sub 7,200 yard golf course, and that's been the case here at Mayakoba. T12 here last year, T26 a couple of years ago. We saw a really strong finish from him earlier in the swing season, kind of fell off a little bit, but really like his chances to bounce back and play well here at 8,500. I'll be in on Mav. Down at the bottom of the eights. I love Mito. We talk about him every week. I'll be in again at 8,100. And Russell Henley's a guy that, seems to fit this golf course well, a really sharp ball striker.
Yeah, Henley, I love Henley on this course. The reason I'm kind of questioning him is we saw some monumental meltdowns on the fourth round last year, 2 different times. And name that I surprisingly didn't say, a good win player, played great in the Ryder Cup, Sergio Garcia, Joe. I know you don't like that name to be said out loud, but I mean, it is what it is. I can see him playing well. 7K range is more of what we usually see. There's a lot of really good value here, and really too many players to mention all of them. I will name a couple of guys that I'm going to be anti on. I will not be on Justin Rose with Gary Woodland, some bets that you just kind of need to push to the side for a little while, maybe forever. But I'm interested to see on the bounce back on Brian Harman. Had a great year last year, seemed to cool off towards the end. And Brendan Todd, defending champ, Pat Perez. There's 3-4 defending champs in this range, Joe, 7K and up. I'm looking for really good ball strikers, though. I would like to actually put some Henrik Norlander in some lineups. Joe hits the driver very straight. See what can happen. I don't think his ownership is going to be that high. Luke Liss hits the ball very, very straight. Hits it long, but hits it straight. Like to see what he can do if he get the putter going at all. Joe, name a few out here in the 7K range.
Yeah, I think you could name more than a few, Andrew. There's certainly no shortage of plays available in the 7K range this week. As you mentioned, lots of guys with good course history, some guys coming in good form. So lots of selection here in the 7Ks, which is kind of what we like as far as building rosters. We like when this 7K range is pretty friendly, and it appears it's going to be this week. Joaquin Neiman, I feel like you just kind of have to toss him out. Hadn't played great, hadn't seen much from him lately, but at 7,800 in this field, while it is a rock solid field, still feels a little bit underpriced to me at 7,800 despite the lack of form. Seamus Power's a guy coming in. The course history here doesn't blow you away. A couple of missed cuts and hadn't played here in a few years, but man, I love the form coming off another really solid week in Bermuda last week. So I think you can look at Seamus Power. Carlos Ortiz, been a course history beast. We've got kind of the Mexico narrative there with him. T8 and a T2 in his last 2 Mayakoba starts, and played well in his most recent start in the swing season. Same can be said for Emiliano Grillo. Man, this guy's a legend on this golf course. 3 top 10s in his last 5 Mayakoba starts, 4 top 15s in his last 5. So, I mean, man, you got to love Emiliano Grillo with that course history. Certainly catches my eye there in the mid-7s. You got Herbert coming off a win. Johnny Vegas has played well on this golf course. Doesn't seem like a great fit for him on paper, but the course history says that he's able to handle this golf course. HV3's had a very nice little swing season. Had a T6 here a few years ago. Other than that, the course history is not great, but I like where his game is. And if we're talking about some carryover from Bermuda, Andrew, a guy I really like that's played well on this course and played well last week, had a strong weekend. Russell Knox there at 7,300. I think you can certainly give him a look on this golf course. There's 10 or less golf courses a year where we're really going to consider Russell Knox. This is certainly one of them near the top of the list. And man, as you close out this 7Ks, I mean, it's just grinders galore. You mentioned Brian Harman, Pat Perez, Matt Kuchar, former winner here, Kevin Streelman, Stinson, Todd. I mean, these guys are just made for this kind of short plug-and-play golf course. We'll toss out Taylor Pendrith, the guy that kind of fell apart a little bit, if we're being honest, last Sunday in the final round, went into the Bermuda Championship final round with the lead. Things didn't go his way, but he's a very young, talented player, and I think he'll bounce back at some point. Don't know that it'll be this week, but shout out Taylor Pendrith, man. He's doing his thing, and he's going to make some noise as we're moving forward. But Lots to like in the 7Ks, Andrew. I could see myself going tons of directions in there this week. As we move on through the week into the research process, I'll try to narrow that down, but certainly a lot of options there, man.
7K range, yeah, like I said, too many players to mention. You should see a lot of good play in that range. 6K range, Joe. A lot of good players down here, Joe. CH3's had a lot of success here. I love Ryan Palmer on a golf course where it going to have some wind and needs to hit the driver straight. Keith Mitchell played pretty well a few weeks ago. I think he's a little bit more of a streaky player. And a few years back, I would have said Ryan Moore is a no-brainer here, but I don't know. But a name I would like to say, and another name I would like to say, and really the form is not there yet. But this is another golf course that Chris Kurt name would step out. I don't like the form yet. Graham McDowell, like we said last week, plays well in the wind. This is going to be the few tournaments that you're going to see him. Wish this golf course was a little harder because I would love Molinari down here at 6,600 if it was a little bit harder, but it's not. Same thing with Ches Reavie. Davis Riley played pretty well last week. I'd like to see him play again this week. Probably he's a green light guy. Malinotti, short golf course, always going to like him. Joe, 6K range, a lot to like, really.
Yeah, man, there really is. I don't know if it's just kind of in comparison to what we saw at Bermuda last week that these guys look so tempting down here, but I think there are a lot of ways you can go, man. You mentioned several guys that I also like. Tom Hoagie there at 69. We've seen him play well, had a T3 here last year. We know he's dangerous when he gets going. You mentioned Charles Howell III, excellent course history, has a couple of top 10s and a couple of top 25s over his last 5 starts. Danny Lee, great call last week, AP. You shouted out Danny Lee, and he came through. Do we try to kind of ride the heater this week on a golf course where he's got a runner up a few years ago, and also a couple top 25s on his Mayakoba resume? Really interesting to think about trying to ride the hot hand with Danny Lee. Guido Migliozzi's a golfer that I really like. Kind of been struggling. I thought maybe he's going to break out of his funk last week, but had a final round 77 at Bermuda, so a little scared to go there, even though I really like that price tag in this field. We saw Higo kind of try to bust out last week. 6,700 in this feels tempting. Thomas Dietrich's a guy, a Euro Tour player that I really like. I think he's just a rock solid type of play that fits this golf course well. There's not any course history, but on paper, this is a really good fit for Dietrich, I feel. It's Grayson Siggs season, AP, 6,600. This is where I love to see him, man. Finally came through for me last week, played really, really well. And I like this fit. I think Mayakoba was a nice fit for Grayson Siggs' game, and I can't roster him fast enough at 6.6K. And there's some more as we move on down. I mean, we kind of always like to reiterate, you're looking for upside down here. When you start shopping in the 6s, upside's all that you're looking for. Guys that can pop for a random top 10. That's what you're trying to find down here. And I think there's certainly some guys in this field. I'll shout out one stone minimum guy in there down at 6K, Eugenio Lopez Shakara. He's a player at Oklahoma State, very talented young man. Played here a couple of years ago on a sponsor's exemption, and he's back on a sponsor's exemption. He played in the Sanderson and actually made the cut earlier this year. So I think you can look at him. We know what type of players that Oklahoma State program develops. So I think he's the next one, young man from Spain that's going to be a really, really big time player here in the next few years. So that's kind of my random guy for the week, man.
Randomness from Joe. Gotcha. Okay, Joe, where's your heart at this week?
Oh, man. Sounds crazy with all the talent in this field. That's what you're going to hear all week about how talented this field is. And with all these heavy hitters, man, I'm kind of surprisingly going to go with Aaron Weiss. I love the form. The statistics are great. The course history is great. The price I don't love, but I think it'll keep his ownership down in GPPs a little bit, maybe. So I'm going Aaron Weiss.
I'll tell you my heart. Now, we did say heart with that, Joe, right? That's where your heart is?
Yeah, my heart's going with Aaron Weiss, man. Maybe it could be a dart throw, too.
I just, like I said, coming into this early on, that there's golf courses that Tony Fenow just plays well at. So I'm going to go with that talent alone. I'm hoping that victory back in August jumpstarts his career in a lot of wins. My dart throw of the week, Joe, I'm going to slide down here to 7,300. I'm always going to take a dip at Brian Harman at 7,300, Joe. It's just too good of a price for him.
I thought you were going to take my guy.
No.
When you said 7,300. I'm going Russell Knox.
I like it, Joe.
We're out there. We're out there in the same ballpark, Andrew.
Russell Knox, basically any golf course that's short with wind and plus also sawgrass, he's going to be in the roster that I have. So I like that play, Joe. I'm a big Russell Knox fan, even though the guy cannot put a leg. I still like him. So
hey man, this Emiliano Grillo's played great here. So this is one golf course where I'm not scared to roster bad putters. I think that's something you can look at. Some of these golf courses, putting's very important. We know it's the most volatile thing from week to week in PGA DFS. Sometimes we want to give it a little bit of weight, and sometimes we're willing to throw it out the window. And this is one of those weeks I think it's pretty low on the totem pole.
Well, I hope so, Joe, if you're going with Russell Knox. So, but anyway.
And Aaron Weiss.
You're literally going two of the worst putters in the field. I appreciate it. If you like what you heard, guys, hit the like button right now, subscribe, share with your friends, come shout out, give us a shout out on Twitter. We'll respond, hit the Slack up in Rotoballer. Speaking of helping us out, rotoballer.com, Joe, what we got going on right there for the rest of the swing season?
Yeah, man, golf's winding down, but you can still go over there and sign up right now. You can get our best price of the year right now. And we're going to have a little bit of a quiet time in December, but you sign up right now, and it's going to take you all the way through next year's Tour Championship, the 2022 Tour Championship. You could use my promo code NICE, NICE, and that'll get you that deal for less than $65. You can also use that promo code to check out our NFL premium content. We got NBA going over there. My man Thunder Dan has been on fire in NBA this year. So if any of you guys want to jump into that, I certainly recommend going over to Rotoballer and checking out Thunder Dan's stuff.
There you go, folks. Rotoballer.com, best players in the world for your daily fantasy needs. I'm Andrew Putters. That's Joe Nicely. Thank you, Rotoballer.com, for everything you do. And you have listened to the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast.
I've already hit 3 in the lake. It's gonna drive me. It's gonna drive